I have been wanting to do a classic pink and white mani for so long. We're going to do it today and use absolutely no gels. What's up, nail crew? It's Nicole, your fellow nail obsessed DIYer. I have been wanting to do this mani for literally like 5 years. Okay. This mani took me back my junior high and high school days, where this was literally all I would get when I got my nails done, is a pink base and then the white French tips. And I have been wanting to recreate it for so long. I just haven't had the color of pink that I liked. I know that sounds crazy because I have like 1,500 probably or so dips, but this pink was exactly the pink that I wanted. It's called Shore Jan. It's from Brady Bunch collection from OG Dip Powder, and I am absolutely obsessed. It's like it's not opaque, but it's not a jelly. It's like somewhere in between an opaque dip and a jelly. It is absolutely perfect with two dips. I have clear builder gel down on my natural nails, just a thin layer since my nails are super short. And then I'm going to do two dips of the Sure Jan over my nails and go all the way back to my cuticles, since I don't need to worry about building an apex because I already built an apex with my builder gel. And even when my nails are this short, I like to at least have a little apex going. Most of my nails have a slight natural apex and a slight C curve to them. So I just do a little bit of an apex with the builder gel, and then I don't have to worry about it with the dip powders. If your nails don't have any C curve, even when they're short, I would still recommend at least doing somewhat of an apex. That just means you'd start with a clear dip powder, and typically you do like maybe two dips of the clear. The first one would be about halfway down your nail, and it's basically like a little landing strip down the middle of your nail. The second one goes out a little bit further on the sides of your nail, and it's about 3/4 of the way back, and then you can go in with your color dips. Now, something that I definitely did wrong on this mani, well, I'm going to tell you a couple things that I did wrong. First of all, I messed up my thumb. I put way too much dip liquids on my thumb so that when I poured the powder over, it applied a little bit funny compared to all of my other nails. So all my other nails applied like really evenly, but for some reason I put too much dip base on the right side of my thumb, and it just ended up looking a little bit funny. Now, you really couldn't tell unless you were like staring at my nails up close. So the only person who ever knew that was me. But I am not a perfectionist. I'm going to tell you guys when I make mistakes, and I like to show them in the videos, right? Like, we're DIYers, we're doing our nails at home. So if I'm not showing you the mistakes that I make and any mess ups that I do and things that go wrong, then to me, it's like, how is that going to help anybody if my nails always looked perfect? And again, I'm not a perfectionist. So if you are looking for a channel that somebody is going to be a perfectionist, you are definitely not in the right place with me. I'm messy and sloppy, but you know what? I feel like that's just who I am, and I'm going to continue to be myself every single time I do a video. I'm finishing up with the pink as the base going through each nail, and I like to pour over my solids and shimmers, and then I lay my nail flat for glitters, flakes, and foils. I always make sure that I brush off any excess powder in between each layer so that they don't get any thicker than they need to be. So once I finished with the pink, then I went in with a layer of clear dip powder to really seal the pink in and make sure I didn't mess any of it up when I do my buffing, shaping, and filing. I am a huge proponent of doing clear as your last dip, regardless of the kind of dip powder you're using. I know I've seen people like say that they don't do it over shimmers or solids, but for me, I absolutely have to do clear as my last dip. I just feel like it seals the color in so well. This way, if you accidentally like over file or over buff, you're not hitting the color. You're just, messing with the clear. So then you have a much better chance of your dip colors, whatever they are, shimmers, solids, flakes, foils, glitters, you have a much better chance of them staying nice. So once you're finished with the clear dip powder, brush that excess off and then apply your activator. And once they're dry enough and hard enough to actually buff and shape, you'll know by if you tap on your finger, it makes like this hard tapping sound versus kind of like a soft feeling to it without a like hard tapping nail sound. That's just how I've learned how to know when my nails are ready to buff and shape. And I like to use this flexible file to go over my nails. If you don't like to use something this big, I know some people just like to use smaller little buffing blocks. I also go around my nails with a cuticle bit, but I decided to skip that so we can jump right into how you do the white tips. Make sure when you're done buffing and filing that you clean your nails with isopropyl alcohol. Now we're going to use this super fun French tip stamping plate that I got from Maniology that I tried using once, probably like 2, 3 years ago, and it did not go well. But I was like, you know what? I am way better at stamping than I used to be. We are going to figure this out and do it. One thing that I did wrong that I was totally not thinking about was I did the second level of the French little stamps right there, the images. I meant to do the bottom layer. I don't know why, because like that I just did the second level, but I had already started and committed, and it literally was not until towards the end that I realized, oh my gosh, I wanted to use the bottom layer because I like a bigger curve for my French. I'm going to give you some tips on how to use a French stamping plate like this. And really, anytime you're using an image that's larger and has like all this space to cover with your stamping polish, there's definitely some tricks to doing it. So when you're normally doing a stamped image, you scrape a lot harder and you want to get as much of that polish like into the image and then the rest off as possible. When you're doing one of these French plates, or like if you were doing that square on the French plate, you don't scrape hard because you want a majority of your polish to stay on the plate so that when you lift it off with the stamper, you're getting that full coverage versus, a thin coverage. And I did put down Uber Chic's nail art barrier because I didn't want to have to wipe off as much of the stamping polish on my skin as I thought as I normally do. So I was really careful about that. Another tip for when you're doing these large empty images that you want to pick up is to very gently, when you're scraping, not only scrape gently, but also do it at an angle. That really helped me too. You can see when I go over each of the little French images that I'm scraping at an angle and very, very gently. I only do one gentle scrape. Then some things that I messed up on, and part of this was like I do not have great depth perception. So for me, when I'm trying to figure out like where to place a stamp, it's not always in the right spot. And it's really hard for me to do like French tips like this because it's hard because I don't see the stamp being in the same place on each nail. I'm sure some people are really good at that part and like they can look at their finger and see it, through the jelly stamper and place it exactly where they want, like really on the same size on each nail. That was something that I struggled with doing this. So what I decided to do was use some polish remover to go around and clean up how my French nail looked. Now, I will say this would probably have been easier if I could use acetone, but I'm allergic to acetone. So I have to use like this non-acetone nail polish remover, and it definitely takes a little bit longer to get the polish off your skin and to work with it. And I'll tell you what else I did wrong. When I finished going through and fixing all of my French lines, I used literally like an angled eyeshadow brush to go and fix my French lines, to kind of like curve them around nicer so they wouldn't be so straight across and flat. I should have, after I was done doing that, taken some isopropyl alcohol and then just wiped the bottom of my nails with it and not touched, the white stamping polish. The reason why is because the non-acetone nail polish remover that I'm using to fix the French lines, I believe it has some kind of like moisturizer or something in it. So my mani came off, like even with peel base, I didn't use that much and it came off faster than I feel like it normally would. So I should have gone around my nail, like taken a Q-tip or something and just like wiped around it to make sure I didn't leave any of the residue from the non-acetone remover on my nails. But you know what? That's something that I will hopefully, crossing my fingers, remember from next time. So this is my method of doing French nails where you do not have to have gels. If you're somebody who doesn't like to use gels or you are allergic to gels, using stamping polish is such a great alternative. You really can do a lot with it. You can do a lot of designs. And I'm going to do some manis coming up showing how I use stamping polish for nail art rather than gels and not even worrying about using the stamping plate. I do have some more tips coming up, and one of them is did you know that you can use dip liquids to top your stamped manis? So if you start off and you have your dip powder as your base, and then you, like I did, and then you have your stamping polish over top, well then how the heck do you use dip liquids? How do you use the activator and the top coat? This is literally how. So I take the Maniology smudge free top coat and cover my entire nail, including the tips of my nail, to make sure I really seal all the stamping polish in. And I let that dry for like 5 to 10 minutes, preferably 10. Like literally when I did this mani, I stuck my hands in front of the air conditioner in the room so it would dry faster. And once that smudge-free top coat is dry, then you can do your top coating with your dip liquids, the activator and the top coat like you normally would. Now, one thing you have to be aware of is when you're doing the activator, you really want to make sure you float it over your nails more than you normally would. So floating it over just means like that you're not shoving the brush down really hard into your nails. And I'm using OG dip powders, dip liquids. I have tried this with multiple brands and it has worked with every single dip liquids brand that I've tried. I've tried it with 2 others, doing stamping and then top coating with the dip top coat after I do the smudge free top coat. So I don't know if it'll work with every single brand, but it works with the 3 that I've tried and it works really well because then your stamps are sealed in so nicely. I want to know in the comments, what are you struggling with stamping? I know when I first started stamping, I was like, I feel like this whole thing is so hard. So let me know what you're struggling with so we can chat and I can give you some tips and tricks for how to do stamping. One thing that I absolutely love about stamps is if you mess it up, you just don't stamp it on your nails, okay? You don't have to finish putting the stamp on your nails if you mess it up. Just take the stamp off the jelly stamper and you can try again. So if you're struggling like with doing hand nail art, stamping is such a great option. This mani is officially one of my favorite I have ever done, and if you are ready to learn more about stamping over dip nails, then make sure you check out this next video and I will help you. Thanks for joining me today, nail crew.